Hello and welcome to Enlightened Empaths, your community for the spiritually awakened, where we discuss, explore, and connect with fellow empaths, healers, intuitives, and seekers. Hello, empaths. We hope you're having a beautiful start to your week. We are going to bring to you some wonderful, uplifting stories of kindness and just really good cheer, because Denise and I were talking, and right now we're in the middle of Mercury, Mother Lovin' retrograde. We've got the holiday season coming up. Everyone is busy. The world is on fire. There's so much going on. We're pulled in different directions and this side and that side. And we just thought it'd be nice to have a little bit of time in your week to just remember how beautiful the world is and how kind people are and how the ripple effect we can instigate in our own lives when we just choose kindness, how powerful that really can be.
Right. And I think this is intrinsic to all people, because there's been studies done on the purest form of kindness. There might not be an audience. It might not give you any credit. It's not about trying to get thanks or accolades or likes or being in way self-serving. There's actual science that supports you'll physically, mentally, and spiritually feel better when you're kind to someone else.
And that is so true, isn't it?
It really is. And this goes back to what Aesop, the Greek storyteller, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. And I think sometimes we think it has to be this big, grandiose effort, or I need to build a wing, or I need to do this. But I think what we're going to talk about today in some of these stories are just people being kind to each other. It's not over the top, because that's what we're trying to get to. And I was in a job situation years ago, and the person who was a supervisor was a stereotypical bully, and no one stood up for the person. And as shy as I was, I stood up for the person that was being bullied. And I'm still amazed that I did, because that was when I was really, really shy. But it was just, there was something in me that said, we can't treat each other this way. This isn't okay. And I think with the world where it is right now, we do have control over this. We do have control over being kind.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes we need those reminders.
Yes.
And that's what we hope some of these stories will do. Do you want to start us off?
I do. So this was an interesting one that I found, and it said, when Sandy Gillard fell from a 2-story window, the impact knocked the senior citizen unconscious, a state that may have become permanent if not for the intervention of a very small, very unlikely hero. So some of these are not just with human kindness. Just thought I'd put that disclaimer in there. Like, if we didn't work animals into it, it wouldn't be us. So
That's right.
So anyway, unlikely hero. Lightly tapping on her head, a bird named Jellybean roused its former caregiver enough that she could call her husband, who arrived in time to telephone emergency services and save her life. This happened in the fall in the town of Esperance in Western Australia's remote southeastern corner, where Gillard, 68 years old, had cared for sick, wounded, and abandoned animals all her life. 3 years before her accident, a minuscule magpie was brought to her home by someone who found it on the ground, unable to fly after it had fallen out of a tree. Already possessing a rich experience in nursing birds back to health, Gillard took in the nestling and named her Jellybean. For months she grew up alongside this woman and her family, a single flock of nestmates. She played with my grandson, Gillard told the news, explaining that the magpie remained in the neighborhood after learning to fly and find food for herself. She'd sit on the veranda or whatever, knock on the door, and I'd come out and say hello. So she had no memory of this fall. She landed on the cement driveway. She cracked her skull and dislocated her right arm violently. And she woke up to this little sound of purring and something tapping her on the forehead. So having been saved from the fall, it was time that this woman saved the birdie, and now the birdie was back to save her. And when the paramedics arrived and brought her to a heliport where she was flown to the hospital and stabilized, the doctors said if she had laid there much longer, she wouldn't have survived.
So Jellybean rescued her.
Yes. Yes. See, her initial kindness to that little birdie
Yep.
came back. And I think that it's a beautiful, beautiful example of we never know the impact a simple thing is going to have.
No, we really don't. And it's just a reminder as well of our four-legged friends are so conscious. They're so aware. They know humans that are nice and kind to them, and they remember.
They do.
I
And
love that.
me too.
All right, my story I found on this really adorable, fun, uplifting website called Sunny Skies. And it's a website where you can just post your own random act of kindness to share it. Isn't
Oh,
that lovely?
oh, that's fun.
I know. So this woman wrote on there, a few years ago, I worked part-time as a checker for Sam's Club. I'm by no means wealthy, but my kids are grown and my second husband and I are comfortable. I remember there was a time in my life when my kids were very young and we were poor. My first husband and I divorced, and it was tough raising two little girls on my own. Gosh, how we looked forward to going grocery shopping on payday. I could actually say yes to a few things they wanted. Back then, that didn't happen often. We visited food banks sometimes because I was broke and hungry. It was awful. Anyway, back to Sam's. I was working one Saturday and a family came in with a cart full. Good stuff, meal basics, and you can tell they hadn't been able to shop for a while. The kids were all excited and happy. Just as I finished checking them out, the dad used their SNAP card and it failed. Food stamps for those not in the US, she adds, explaining SNAP cards. The mom panicked, of course, and she damn near started crying. The little kids just stood there staring at the food they weren't going to get to eat tonight. I so remember being that mom. The happiness that comes from being able to get food and saying yes to just the freaking basics. And then boom, SNAP doesn't work? The manager came over and said, I'm so sorry, the whole system is down statewide. We can't process any EBT cards today. The defeated look on all their faces was just too much. I pulled the manager aside and asked if I could pay. He literally thought I'd lost my mind. Yes, it was about $200, but damn it, I've been that mom and I couldn't let them leave without food. It would break my heart. I had my debit card in my back pocket for my break, so he explained to the family that I wanted to buy their cart for them and asked if that would be all right. Now the mom really did start to cry, and the kids started planning supper again. I've never told anyone about this, but I'm so thankful I was in a position to help. I'm so blessed to be able to do that for someone. Doesn't that
Oh,
just warm your heart, to really understand what that family was going through because she had been there, and then to be in a position finally to have an opportunity to return that favor like Jelly Bean and pay it forward. It's such a beautiful experience.
and there was no camera. There was no one that was going to say, "Aren't you amazing?" or put him on the front page of the newspaper or this person. I mean, I think again it was coming from a place of heart.
Yes.
Our next one's a bit long, but it's a good story. So, when Larry Stewart was growing up in his grandparents' home in a small Mississippi town, he didn't know they were impoverished. It wasn't until he started school that he learned what he lacked: bathrooms, telephones, hot water, and gas stoves to be found in other kids' homes. As a young adult, he confronted poverty again, living paycheck to paycheck. He became homeless when his employer went out of business, owing Larry more than one check. So Larry resorted to living in his car, covering himself in his laundry in an effort to stay warm, and hoping to forget his hunger. By the time he'd gone 2 days without a regular meal, he was so desperate that he went to the Dixie Diner and ordered breakfast without knowing how he'd pay for it. When he finished eating, he started looking around on the floor, pretending he'd lost his wallet. The cook came out from behind the counter and helped him look. Then suddenly the search was over. "You must have dropped this," the cook said, and he was holding a $20 bill. Yeah, try not to cry on that one.
I know.
Larry was so grateful that he made a vow to himself as soon as he was able he'd do something for others like the cook had done for him. Over time, he became financially stable and he set out to keep his vow. Although he wasn't well off by any means, he knew he couldn't put off getting started. One evening, he stopped at a drive-in restaurant and noticed that the waitress was wearing a tattered coat that couldn't have been keeping her warm. When he handed her money to pay for his food, he knew it was the moment. "Keep the change," he said. Tears welled in the waitress's eyes, and her hand shook as she held the money. "You have no idea what this means to me." And her voice was shaking too. But Larry did have an idea what it meant to her. Afterward, he was so inspired by what had happened that he started driving around looking for people who needed help. They weren't hard to find, and he gave away $200 in fives and tens. The more successful Larry became, the more money he gave away. By the time he'd earned considerable wealth in cable and phone services in the Midwest, he was anonymously given away substantial amounts known as Secret Santa. He consulted with local social workers, firefighters, and police officers to find needy and deserving recipients. He also found some of them on his own at laundromats, social service agencies, government housing facilities, and businesses that paid minimum wage. At thrift stores, he often found people who were raising their grandchildren. When he would give them anywhere from $100 to $300, it would change the whole complexion of their Christmas as well as their outlook. For many of them, the money made it possible to buy presents and cover other necessities like bills. Larry didn't want people to have to beg, get in line, or apply for money. I was giving it in a way that allowed them to keep their dignity. And all told, Larry's given away more than 1.4 million over the years. And there's all these stories about the people whose home he saved, who there wasn't going to be a Christmas, but he was the secret Santa to all of them. So
Wow.
in 2006, after serving as an anonymous Santa for more than 20 years, Larry was diagnosed with terminal cancer. At that point, he decided to go public because a tabloid newspaper was about to reveal his identity. Larry thought he would be the one to tell his story, hoping it would recruit more Santas to take his place. He'd seen that every time a Secret Santa was written about in the media, the coverage was followed by a wave of new Secret Santa appearances. He hoped making his identity public would continue to add to the ranks. He got his wish. Thousands of people visited his website and signed up to become Secret Santas. And based on the number of people who emailed the site, they turned out in force. He died in 2007, and his hand-picked successor, an anonymous businessman, took over for him and continues to lead the Society of Secret Santas. Its members follow in Larry's footsteps around the world. The posting on a society's website tells to give all the money to victims of fires, people who've been evicted, veterans, military families in need. They tell of former NFL player Dick Butkus handing out $100 bills in San Diego, and former Major League player Luis Gonzalez doing the same in Phoenix. There's been a foundation, and it goes on and on about all the people that the ripple effect started when that cook picked up that $20 bill. We'll say picked it up and paid for that meal. So this brings tears to my eyes.
Me too.
You worked in education. School teachers love a good Secret Santa around the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
But this guy actually started that years
I'm
and years.
wondering where's Debbie McComber and Hallmark? Why isn't this a movie? Wouldn't that be a great little show? And every week the Secret Santa helps someone?
Yeah, and just on this, just to finish the website, it says the compassion shared from one spontaneous random act of kindness is elevating, priceless, and not easily explained. It's an instant connection between souls that can change a life forever. Being a Secret Santa has blessings beyond words.
Wow.
I love that story.
I do too. And you know what I love about it is that, like you said, it highlights the ripple effects of kindness. But I think it's also important to remember that there are so many people like Larry out there. I remember reading when the man who started the duty-free stores in airports, he became a billionaire. And when he and his wife died, I think they had $100,000 to their name because they had secretly given it away like this their whole lives.
Just to give credit, that story was from a book, Humankind, Changing the World One Small Act at a Time. It's filled with stories like that, how one small deed can make a difference. And when you just mentioned the $100,000, it seems like they had mastered how much is enough.
Right, exactly. How much is enough? Oh, love that story. All right, my story that I chose next is about a really interesting way we could spend our retirement. I'm sure most of us have done some daydreaming about what you'll do when you finally get to retire. Maybe those dreams include vacations or learning a new hobby or volunteering a few hours a week. What about listening to people? There's a former social worker in Canada who is spending his retirement just listening to people. He sets up a little table and two chairs, and he says it's like being the stranger on the airplane in the seat next to you. His name is Paul Jenkinson, and he is currently on a cross Canada tour where he shows up, sits down, and listens to anyone and about anything. Good listening, he says, is a skill rarely found in the world, and during a career as a registered social worker in Nova Scotia and a spokesperson for Advocates for Care of the Elderly, it was part of the job description. I'm there as a fellow human to make connections, he told reporters. I just create the safe space for them, a little bit like the stranger you're never going to see again. How many people do you know who'd love someone that isn't a therapist or a family member to just sit down and talk to? Jenkinson says that those who eventually take him up on his offer tend to do so immediately. I think they're curious for sure, he said, like, who is this older man? People go back and forth a few times, surreptitiously as it were, getting some courage to finally sit down. Sometimes people want to come and express things they're proud of or the good deeds they performed, including volunteering for others, just like Jenkinson. There's no timeline, no topics barred, no charge, and no pressure, as well as a promise to keep everything confidential unless the speaker expresses the intention to harm themselves or others. Oh, and he doesn't have a home. He's not destitute. He's just a transient with financial means, and he will come anywhere he's invited. At the moment, he's in Nova Scotia. His next stop is Prince Edward Island, and he has a plan to be in British Columbia by the holidays.
Oh,
Isn't that neat? Like, would you walk up to a man and just sit down and start talking to him?
you know what it reminded me of is I can't remember which country they have a library of old
Oh, you
people.
can check out in Denmark. You can check out an old person and listen to their story.
Yes, it reminded me of that. Just that, but it goes back to what we've said so many times that people want to feel seen. They want to feel heard. They want someone to take the time to listen to what they have to say.
Yes.
I love that.
And I love that a lot of people just want to tell him things they're proud of that they did.
Right.
Because everyone needs that. My favorite speech of all time, and I'm talking founding father speeches to the Gettysburg Address. Nope, it's Snoop Dogg. When he
Okay.
said, I want to thank me.
Yes.
Do you remember that famous
Yes.
speech? I love that. I send it to friends all the time. Just like once a month, I'll send it and just be like, just a reminder. Don't forget to pat yourself on the back. Because we all need to do that a little bit too. Yes, we need to spread kindness to others, but we also have to be kind to ourselves.
That's a really good point because how many incredibly kind people really can't look in that mirror or they're trying to learn how to. So that's an excellent point, and it is a great speech too.
It is.
Our next one isn't quite as much a story, but just anyway, when analyzing the results for 2024, these researchers found that the belief in the kindness of others is much more closely tied to people's happiness than previously thought. So there's evidence from the perceived and actual return of lost wallets shows that people are much too pessimistic about the kindness of their communities compared to the reality. The actual rates of wallet return are about twice as high as people expect. So believing that others are willing to return your lost wallet is shown to be a strong predictor of population happiness. And the Nordic nations, once again, rank the topping as the happiest countries. But it goes on and it talks about different things in different countries, but who smiles more, who laughs more, what the lineup is. But the point of this is there were further results around this theme of caring and sharing. And they said that sharing meals with others is strongly linked with well-being across global regions, that the number of people who dine alone in the US has increased 53% over the last 2 decades. And there's more housing, but more people living in smaller family units or living alone. Household size is linked to happiness. Young adults across the world having no one they felt they could count on for social support. See, these are all things that we can make a difference with. In countries where benevolent acts are more frequent, despair is less frequent. So, surprise, surprise with that. Declining happiness and social trust in the US and parts of Europe combine to explain the rise and direction of political polarization and anti-system votes, which, whatever side of the fence you're on, my vote is look at yourself in the mirror and decide, am I helping? Am I being kind? Am I saying something that needs to be said? So on and on. But the whole point of this is, how can we come together and how can we look out for each other in ways that are not about your wallet? It's not about what you're spending. It's just, if you know someone's eating alone and they're lonely, reach out to them.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. That's so
rent
true.
an old person.
Or okay, my next one isn't really about an act of kindness on the earthly side. It's more about an act of love from heaven. And you know how much we love those stories. This one is called Till We Meet Again. It was written and submitted by Lisa Coates. She says, I was thinking of how much I miss my mom as I trudged along the icy sidewalk on the way to the gym. I needed to cheer myself up. It was February, my birthday month, and Mom's too. She was spending another one in heaven. There was one thing that always made her feel close, something I wouldn't see today. When I was a senior in high school, I badly wanted a butterfly tattoo on my ankle. Mom thought it was silly, but I wouldn't give up on the idea. At last she consented. You're 17, she said. If you want an insect on you forever, I won't stop you. I just hope you still like it when you're 80. She went with me to the tattoo parlor and held my hand while I was inked. From then on, butterflies reminded me of Mom's loving support, even when it came to something she never would have done herself. On my first Mother's Day without her, I saw a black and white butterfly with an iridescent blue shimmer. Once, while I was stopped at a red light thinking of her, a butterfly fluttered past my windshield. It was as if Mom was saying, I'm still here with you, I love you. But of course, I'd never see a butterfly in February. I couldn't wait to get inside the warm gym and work up a sweat. I was almost there when I stopped myself from taking another step. There, stuck on an icy patch on the sidewalk, was a cheerful paper cutout of a butterfly. A birthday butterfly from Mom.
Oh.
Isn't that lovely?
Oh, I love that.
I know. She was missing her mom. February, it's got to be, February, I think, is one of the hardest months. Thank God it's only 28 days.
Yeah.
Holidays are behind you. Taxes are coming up. It's cold. It's wet. It's windy. It's freezing. And then you've got birthdays and you're missing your mom. Oh, how lovely that she was able to pop through and give her that beautiful paper butterfly.
Yeah. And being open to, that I love that. Because it just, how they do that, we won't know until we get there. But
that's right.
Have trusting and believing in it. This next one, it says, at 14, I was so poor. And we're not just focusing on people who have been in poverty or have had hard times, but I've found over the years that many people that may have started with some financial, social, cultural challenges tend to really gain a level of empathy and compassion over their lifetimes when they do get in a position where anyway. At 14, I was so poor that I couldn't afford lunch, and I used to pretend to forget it. A teacher started bringing me food every day, but then during that school year, she suddenly vanished and never came back. 10 years later, I'd become a lawyer. I saw her name booked for a visit. When she came in, I froze. She was the same woman I knew, with those same kind eyes. But I was shocked when she started to shake and tremble. She didn't recognize me at first, but when I told her my name, she smiled. Her husband of 20 years had left her for a younger woman and had taken all their savings in a planned scheme. She couldn't afford a lawyer, but had come asking for help, or at least reduced fees. I took her case and told her I didn't want a penny. We won. She got all her money back and even more in damages. She hugged me and said I'd saved her. I told her I was only repaying a debt and that she could count on me always.
Wow.
We just don't know, do we?
No. We don't, but that's why we need these important stories, and we need to share them, because you don't know. You just do it from your heart, you put it out there, and you trust that the ripple effects will keep going. That's the magic of this.
Do you know that that's a sign that I get in readings is I'll see people standing, like in my mind's eye, I'll see people standing at this like very calm lake and they're throwing little pieces of pea gravel, like boop, it's making
Yeah,
a little
and you
tiny
see the
ripple.
ripples.
Right. And then they'll show me like Spirit with this big ass rock saying, okay, now it's time to throw this one and make a real ripple. And I feel like that's what we're talking about today. Are you ready to step up and come from a place of heart? I'm telling you, if we could let the 3-year-olds run the world for just a day, we'd all be okay. They get it.
With a little nap in there.
Yeah, a little nap, but for the most part, they're true. They're
They
kind.
are.
They don't care.
Nope.
Um,
All right, this next one I also found on that Sunny Skies website, and it definitely made me cry. So I hope you guys enjoy it too. I think it reminds us of how important it is to refrain from judgment and just focus on connection. So this man writes, years ago, I was working at a care home in a small town. It was a nice residential home and everyone was treated well. We had an elderly gentleman named John who had been a World War II soldier. He was lovely, but a little lonely. His wife had passed and he had no children. We did our best for him, but he started to get depressed and fed up with life. He used to go for walks around a nearby park every day with his walking stick. One summer, he came back to the home upset. He said a group of teenagers in hoods were in the park all the time and he found it intimidating. He said they were loud and he was frightened. He stopped going back to the park for a few days, but he missed the walk too much. On the day he went back, he said, "Look, if I'm not back in an hour, come looking for me." Well, he wasn't back in an hour. I gave it 10 more minutes, left someone else in charge, and ran to find him. I thought he'd had an accident or maybe ran into trouble of some kind. When I got to the park, John was sitting on a bench with a group of 4 teenagers gathered around him, seemingly hanging off every word John was saying. I went over, checked on John, and he was fine. He was thrilled with his audience and talking about World War II. He came back to the home 2 hours later, overjoyed that he'd made new friends. John had actually gone over to them and told them they were intimidating and that it wasn't fair. Their kids had taken their hoods down and apologized. Then they all got talking. Nearly every day, John met them at the park, and eventually he started wearing a cap backwards too, just like them. When autumn came and winter, those kids came to the home once a week with fizzy drinks and chocolate bars and watched war movies or the Band of Brothers series with John. They called him Pops. For Christmas, they gave him a hoodie, which John actually loved and wore a lot. John went from being lonely and sad to being happy. And even when he got very unwell and had to go into hospice, those kids carried on visiting him until John passed away. I think John had a big effect on them, but they had a big effect on John too and changed him. It was a genuine friendship that was really moving to witness. It always warms my heart, and it's my favorite memory from my time working there. I mean, is that not the best story of connection like we were talking about?
I love that. I absolutely love that because it didn't cost them anything to do that, did it?
No, no. And how brave of, I feel so bad for this older gentleman who sees, he probably called them hoodlums in their hooded sweatshirts. And he walked over and said they were intimidating him. And then they took their hoods down and started talking. And then it's beautiful friendship. I mean, just that's what happens when we make that move to connect instead of just observe and judge.
Yes. This next one, I think you found it on TikTok. It's a story of people at a local steakhouse that really helped this person whose heart was breaking. And a musician who goes by the username Cousin Homer called the Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen located in St. Joseph, Missouri, with a special request, the biggest, most perfectly steaked dinner the kitchen could muster. He was preparing to put his dog of 13 years down that night. The rotund black lab named Bella had been his best friend and stalwart companion, and her owner wanted to make sure her final meal was a blowout. When the musician arrived to pick up the food, the manager merged with the staff that were on hand. presented the bag of food, and offered the condolences of the entire restaurant, comping the meal in the process. When Cousin opened the to-go container, he found a letter of condolence signed by everyone in the restaurant. They even sent him a blanket, wishing that comfort would wrap around him like a warm honey butter croissant.
Oh, isn't that the best? And I think Texas Roadhouse did something similar earlier on in the summer as well.
This is a good point. If this, I don't know if this is going to come out right. If you're kind of burnt out on humans, at least help the animals.
Yes.
Or pick up some trash or do something for the earth. Or if people aren't your thing right now, you can still be kind.
Exactly. Okay, this next one is about a possible guardian angel, and it was written by Lisa Lashaw. She writes, I was off to visit Washington, D.C. I rolled my luggage down the train platform to car 3 because it had a restroom. But the conductor came up to me and said, please come this way. Disappointed, I followed him to a car farther back. The whistle blew while I was settling into my seat, and we were on our way. I had my ticket ready when the same conductor reappeared. Be sure to stay awake, he said as he punched my ticket. I sat back to watch the countryside pass. It wasn't long before the train's sashaying motion lulled me into a light slumber, until the busybody conductor came back to ruin my nap. The nerve of him. He had just passed into the next car when suddenly the wheels squealed. The train shook, lurched forward, and came to a dead stop with me on the floor amidst coats and baggage from the overhead bins. First responders found me bruised all over with a sprained ankle. Thankfully, no one lost their life in the accident. The first 2 cars had derailed coming around a curve, and car 3 had been thrown on its side. The crew was featured on the front page of the newspaper. I searched the photo in vain looking for the conductor. I called the station, but no one was able to identify the conductor who had kept me safe. Well, I think that was a guardian angel.
I agree.
And she was
popped
open
up
to
at the right time, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, she wanted to go to car 3 because she needed to use the restroom, and he very authoritatively said, come this way, and she decided to listen to him. This is how I think angels work. They come to all of us, but we can listen or not listen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times it's getting out of the way. I don't think do I think we're intrinsically kind people? Yes. Do I think that it's in everyone's heart? I would like to think so. But I think sometimes we get that little nudge from spirit or an angel or an ancestor in spirit that's saying, this person really needs something right now. We're going to work through you. And you'll do it spontaneously without even realizing why you're doing it.
Exactly.
This next one is very quick, and it says, my neighbor Jim had trouble deciding if he wanted to retire from the construction field, and then he ran into a younger man he'd worked with previously. The younger man had a wife and 3 children, was finding it difficult to make ends meet, as he hadn't worked in some time. The next morning, Jim went into the union office and submitted his retirement paperwork, and for his replacement, he gave them the name of the struggling young man. And that was 6 years ago, and the young husband and father has been employed there ever since. So,
wow.
That's just, I love that they listened to him and hired someone that he recommended. That's a biggie. But also, it was just helping another human being.
Exactly. Okay, this next one was submitted anonymously, and it reminds us of how important it is, especially now, to just look out for each other. So this person writes, I'm sitting here on my lunch break writing this just as I witnessed it. For context, I'm a shift supervisor for a retail drugstore chain in the U.S. Currently, the U.S. government is in a shutdown. Unfortunately, it's impacting people who are on government assistance. One form of government assistance here in the U.S. is food stamps. A certain amount is put on a card called an EBT card, and one uses it like a debit card to buy food. This day in particular is my store's monthly senior discount day. If you are above a certain age, you get a discount. So I'm helping ring up when an old man comes up with a cart full of stuff. He graciously reminds me of his senior discount. I'm ringing him up. We get into some small talk while I'm ringing him up. I notice a line forming, so I call for backup. When I'm almost done with the older man, the next customer in line is a mom with 3 kids. One is a newborn, the other 2 are boys, about 4 and 6. The kids are carrying most of the food. My coworker calls next in line, and the mom and kids pass by the old man. He comments, "What a cute baby." I finish ringing him up, and he moves to the side to check his receipt. He comments to the 2 boys that they are being good big brothers. The mom gets ready to pay with her EBT card, and the card is declined. She tries again. Declined. She tells my coworker to take out a box of cookies. Declined again. The mom says she'll just use her debit card. Then the older man steps in and says he'll pay for it. The mom assures him that it's not a problem, it's only $30, but he interrupts, telling her he doesn't care how much. The store did something good for him today, so he'll do something good for someone else. He tells my coworker to bring in the box of cookies too. The coworker decides to add the senior discount since a senior is buying it, and the mom starts wiping away tears. The old man tells the 2 boys to continue being good big brothers. With the political circus happening in the US right now, it's just nice to see people helping each other. That
Oh,
it is. That's beautiful.
and I love that. I always love that when I'm traveling or something and I'll go into a grocery store where I don't know someone, and then they'll always ask, "Well, do you have our rewards card?" I think, no, chances are I'm never coming in the store again in my life. But I don't say that. I say, no, I don't. And they'll just tap their own card. I always love that.
Yeah,
It
me
doesn't
too.
take anything away from them
No,
or the store.
no,
This is
exactly.
this is another quick one, and it says, leaving a store, I returned to my car only to find that I'd locked my keys and cell phone inside. Oh, that's a terrible feeling. A teenager riding his bike saw me kick a tire and say a few choice words. And he said, "Well, what's wrong?" And I explained my situation. But even if I could call my wife, she can't bring me a car key because this is our only car. He handed me his cell phone. He said, "Call your wife and tell her I'm coming to get her key." And I said, "That's 7 miles round trip." And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it." An hour later, he returned with my key. I offered him some money, but he refused and said, "Let's just say I needed the exercise." And then he just rode away. So I think sometimes we think, oh, you're too old to help, you're too young to help, or we'll have a bias of the way someone looks or the way some people are kind if we give them a chance.
Okay, but the true crime girl in me is like, no, don't talk to
Well,
strangers.
don't talk to a stranger, or, was he going to break into their home and he knew that the wife was alone? I mean, yes, that 0 to 60 stuff. I'm glad the kid came back with the
Me too.
key.
That's a beautiful story. And I'm sorry to add my true.
No,
All I could think
but
about was Ted Bundy with his
no,
broken arm sling.
but see, that's a really good point, in that I think a lot of us hesitate to be kind because we don't know if it will be received in the manner that it's intended.
Yeah, we don't. And that's hard. And that's when you kind of have to follow your intuition. My kids always make fun of me for raising them with those types of thoughts, run from strangers. And one day we were driving somewhere and I saw a family on the side of the road with their car, and the man just had his head in his hands like it was the end of the world. And I pulled over and my kids were like, "Mom, what are you doing? You don't know them." And I just said, I can't fix your car or change a tire, but I have a cell phone. I can take you guys somewhere. And it worked out great. We were able, all he needed was the cell phone. But, I just followed my instinct in that moment. But yeah, my true crime love would prevent me from being of help in that moment, I think.
Yeah, and you just made a really important point, that the girls were a little concerned, but they also saw you model taking care of another human being,
Yeah, and I think that's important too. But
right?
but
But
yeah.
not doing something foolish, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tricky. It's tricky when
It,
you have daughters. You've got to teach them both sides. Be kind, reach out, but
be
be careful.
safe,
Be safe.
right? And I
Okay,
think that's for any children. Yeah.
yeah, I do too. This next story really does remind us about how what you give does come back to you. It's written by Tammy Murray, and it's about how hard it can be and rewarding to follow that still small voice inside of us. She writes, "Snow flurries drifted past my bedroom window while I got ready for work. 22 degrees outside without much chance of warming up. That's November in Idaho, I thought. I'd never felt more thankful to have a closet full of warm clothes. Most of my clothes came from secondhand stores and yard sales. Snagging a great deal always gave me a thrill. When I added something new to my wardrobe, I'd place an older item in a donation bag that I would drop off when it was full. Get a blessing, give a blessing. That was my motto. I topped off my outfit that morning with my warmest coat and gloves and grabbed my favorite onyx lambswool scarf. It was my best purchase ever. I rushed off to work, warm and snug in my winter coat. At lunch, I ran a few errands and wandered over to a church bustling with activity. They were having a clothing drive. Oh, I wish I had known. I had all those old clothes to donate and no time to run home and get them. Then I heard a clear voice inside telling me to donate my coat. Really? I thought. Now? That coat is keeping me warm. With a sigh, I shrugged off my coat and gave it to the volunteer. Wow, she said. Thank you. On impulse, I added my gloves too. The wind blew as I turned back to my car. I shivered and pulled my scarf tighter. May those be a blessing to someone who needs them more than I do, I prayed as I headed back to the office. On the way to my desk, I ran into my manager. She had just returned from a trip to Italy. I brought something back for you, she said, ushering me into her office. Please take one. There, lined up on her desks, were 6 luxurious scarves. I chose a black and green one. Give a blessing, get a blessing. I guess an angel wanted me to show that my motto worked both ways.
Oh, I love that.
I know. I think that's so sweet.
And these are really important because if you catch yourself doom scrolling, or if you catch yourself getting caught up in the rhetoric of all of it right now, maybe just take a minute and instead of Google the latest heinous thing that's happening, Google kindness stories or how can I be more kind? It's not being delusional or dismissive or ignoring or uninformed. It's taking care of yourself to realize there are still good people in the world.
Yes. 99.9% of people are good.
I think so.
I do too. And we just need reminders. We need to be critical thinkers and aware that the news is only putting up stuff that sells. And fear
Right.
sells.
And
Negativity sells.
And it does, if as we've said over and over and over, if the point of all of this is to bring us together closer in humanity, what a perfect way to do it.
Yes. This next one I love. It's called On a Wing and a Prayer. It's about a pilot who receives a miracle reminder that we're always watched over and cared for. It was written by Buster DeSales. He says, it was already late when I landed in Maine, and I had another flight to pilot the following morning. I caught a cab directly to my hotel, realizing I had no time to enjoy the local color of the town. What's the best root beer around here? I asked the driver. He looked at me from his rearview mirror, probably a bit surprised. I told him I'd been collecting root beer bottles for a while. It was just something fun I did with my kids. Each of us chose something unique to enter into the hobby collections competition at the East Texas State Fair. We had chicken run characters, unusual horse figurines, taped reruns of the Waltons, and my root beer bottles. I'd even built a display case with room for 12 bottles. Just one more root beer brand and the case would be full. Virgil's, my cab driver said. That's definitely the one you should be looking for. I knew I wouldn't have time to search for it before my flight the next day, but I made a note just the same. Thanks for the info, I said, and hopped out at the hotel. I got to my room and made a phone call home to check in. For me, entering the collections contest was a nice distraction from the everyday worries of family life. Before takeoff, I always said a prayer for protection. Why didn't I do the same thing when I wasn't flying? I grabbed a quick dinner and got into bed. God, I prayed, I need to know you're with me on the ground too, even if it's just an inkling of your presence. Back at the airport next morning for my early flight, as I was nearing the sliding glass doors to the entrance, I saw something on the ground. A bottle, unopened, standing straight up. It was a bottle of Virgil's root beer. God had found a perfect way to say, I'm right here. What are the odds? You're from Maine. Have you ever heard of Virgil's root beer?
I've never heard of Virgil's root beer, no.
Yeah, I haven't either. And for that to happen right after he prayed, like, show me that you're with me when I'm on the ground too. And then that root beer bottle just appears.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And I love these stories.
Yeah, I do too.
Just it's fun to talk about things where people are doing things not to further their own agenda or whatever, just to be nice.
Yeah, just to be nice, just to be thoughtful.
Right.
And just to remind people that they are seen and that they matter.
Right.
You
That's all
know?
anybody wants.
Yeah, exactly.
We really hope that you've enjoyed these stories. And I just want to share real quickly that I am getting ready to open up the membership that I started last summer. It's only opens up twice a year. If you'd like more information, there is also a website now, tapintothecollective.com, which is where you can find the publication. We have 2 meetings a month. They're on weekends right now because of all the time zones, where we visit, we talk, we laugh, we share things. Sometimes we'll talk about a case study of something that happened in someone's practice, with anonymity, of course, and see other people's perspective. There's also a site that people can interact with. It's very, very much like a social media site. There's no political agenda. There's no self-promotion. It's just a chance for like-minded people to share time. So if you're interested, you can check it out.
I love that. Say the website again.
Tapintothecollective.com.
And how often do you guys meet?
Twice a month.
Twice a month. Wow.
But there's an ongoing site that it's really cool. I found this site that it works similar to a social media, the scroll, the post, the feed, but you're able to break it down into different categories. So I don't know a lot about a lot of things, and I'm fine with that. So there's a section on astrology, and people that are really into astrology meet there. There's these little subgroups. There's creativity, there's writing, there's business, there's someone just started a tarot share similar to a Reiki share. So it's just people from around the world that are reaching out to each other to share time.
Well, you are a living, breathing example of what this whole episode has been about.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Facilitating connections.
yeah, it's amazing. The people in that group are phenomenal. And the cool part is you can be like, this isn't for me, then it's just not for you. It's not, there's no pressure. It's not overload. It's just a great way to hang out with like-minded people. We do a group meditation each time we meet. Sometimes it's a journey. Sometimes it's a guided meditation. But basically, it's a safe place to hold space for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's needed now more than ever, especially for, I'm assuming it's a lot of intuitive people, energy healers, and
Yeah.
to be able to have a safe space to share, hey, what do you guys do when a client no shows? Or what do you do
Right.
when this comes up? And, who do you refer people to for this? I think that's great to have a resource like that.
It's fun. It's so fun. And I truly love this group. I love these people because some people are very active in it. Some people are in the background watching. They're not ready to say anything yet. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but it is a place to have conversations similar to the conversations you and I have, just about juju stuff, or has everyone been feeling off, or I've had these really weird dreams this week. It's just people being people.
I love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
So should they go to that website or yours or both to sign up?
There's if you'd like more information, you can check it out on tapintothecollective.com. There'll be a link with more information, and then I'll send you some more to see if it feels like a good fit. The number one thing is be kind, hold space for someone. There's no agenda. We do the publication, I think we've sent out 4 or 5 times. We send that out on the new moon every month. And it's just a compilation of articles and things that people in the group are offering. So you can get that by signing up for my email list as well. If you go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, it will send you that once a month, but you can also find it on the website.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I have a little something coming up that's not like that, but I wanted to remind people, if you order one of my signed books off of my website, from now until Christmas, you get a bookmark with my spiritual poem that I wrote on it, some fun stickers, and a free crystal clear spray. So that's my holiday offer. And my crystal clear spray is made with holy water, sage, frankincense, myrrh, and lavender. And then I add blessed salt and crystals for added protection. And it's a great spray that you can use to uplift your own aura or the vibrations in your home, office, or car. So that's my holiday special right now. I'm also reminding people about my Rock Your Numbers report, where if you just send me your birth date, I create a numerology report that details your soul number, your personality, and your life path number, along with information about your upcoming personal year number. So you get like a 10 to 12 page written report, but you also receive 4 crystals that I specially choose for you that help you align with the positive aspects of your unique numerology. And it comes with descriptions of what those crystals can do and how you can work with them on a daily basis. But I just want to remind people, if you do order a Rock Your Numbers report, please do send me your birth date. I keep getting orders, Denise, and they're not sending me their birth date.
Okay, so could you, because
I'm
that seems
psychic.
like
I'm not that psychic.
that seems like it would make an amazing gift. So could you gift that for someone else?
Yeah, a lot of people do that. That's a lot of people do that for birthdays and holiday gifts. My favorite, someone bought numerology reports for her bridesmaids gifts.
Oh,
I know. I was so happy and honored to do that. But yeah. And my daughter Olivia is pushing me to come up with some Black Friday holiday special. So I don't know. She's working on something for me.
that girl is on it.
I know. She cracks me up. She will text me, Mom, you haven't posted in 2 days. What are you doing? Well, I have really enjoyed sharing these kindness stories. I think I enjoyed researching them even more. It was really fun to just get on the internet and, just rifle through positive stuff.
Yes, we need more of that.
We do. So thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the kindness stories, let us know. We'll do it again. If they annoyed you, I guess let us know that too, or keep it to yourself. I don't know.
But just don't listen. You don't, no one.
Yeah, hit skip.
Free will.
If you did like it, though, please hit share and send it to a friend. And we would really, really appreciate it if you would take a minute in your day to leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. It really does help us so much. Thank you, everyone. Hoping and wishing and praying that you have a moment to not only spread your own ripple of kindness out into the world, but that you also receive the echo of all the kindness you've given out throughout your life this week and beyond into the new year. Have a beautiful week. Show up, do great work, and share your light.
Take care.